Wednesday. It's Mr. Irrelevant of Alex Strouf with you from the Gruber Law Offices. One call, that's all studio at the Avenue in downtown Milwaukee. Full house today. Josh DiMaggio's here. Will Sommers is here. Hunter Vaughn is back at the Everlight Solar Studio running things as usual. Common denominator, huh?
Say that again?
I said common denominator, huh?
Are you going to give any context?
I'm going to once you answer the question.
Yeah, you're annoying.
I said right before we came on the air, it was like, Joshy's cranky today, Hunter's cranky today. Will said he's giggly. But 2 out of the 3 people that aren't me on the show are mad. What's going on?
I'm not mad. I just find you grating at times.
Grating.
You get into now this is diagnosis, I'm not shaming you, your ADHD phase.
I am.
Where you just start volleying verbal diarrhea at me from like 5 feet behind me. And for some reason, I'm rating Creed on a 1 to 10 basis. And I've been awake since 4 a.m. I've been at work since 5. And you coming in and being like, hey, what do you think of Creed? Based on nothing, just because you're bored and need to let out some of your, I think I need to start adopting the take a lap. You start talking too much, I just say take a lap. You go out into the 3rd Street Market Hall, burn off some energy.
You know, it's actually really funny you say that because I do have a story for this. So prior to my diagnosis of ADHD, which happened, I think I was in 7th grade.
Yeah.
My 6th grade English class, Miss Miller at Edison Middle School in the east side of Green Bay. I would just get up in the middle of when we were supposed to be reading. And she'd be like, what are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. I was going to talk. She goes, go take a lap. So in English class in middle school, I literally did have the take a lap rule. My dad hated it. My dad was so mad when he found out about that. He's like, just be a normal child. Sit your ass down.
Yeah, we've surpassed that. We've tried other avenues. I've tried blatantly just ignoring you. Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work. Answering you just keeps feeding it. When like my cousins were young, we used to do the run around the house, we'll time you.
Oh, sure.
And it was basically just leave us alone and go run away. And then we'll make up a time and tell you it was better or slower and that you got to beat a certain time. That's what I need to start doing because you
need to trick me into bleeping off.
Yes. You need laps. Yeah, I think you should now moving forward, and maybe this will help you professionally. Every hour, you just take a lap.
I don't know that I need help professionally because I feel like you're just my punching bag. You're the one I like to annoy.
Sure. I think if we were to ask some people in a moment of honesty, I wouldn't be the only one you annoy. They might not be as upfront with how much they annoy you as I am, but I think if we started talking to some people around here, they go, yeah, he just says stuff at the way I described the way our interactions are when you're in this mode is you say stuff at me.
Yeah. That's how conversations work.
You're not very interested even in my response. It's more just I'm saying things so I can get them out because I have to say
that's not true, Joshy.
What would you do with what I rated Creed 1 to 10?
I was curious on your opinion on the band Creed because, and there was a story to this that I did not explain very well, clearly. This morning...
See, that's also a problem. Because sometimes you might have something, but your brain never gets to the point.
Now, that I'm not disagreeing with. So I was in a production room this morning getting some stuff ready for Kyle Bresta Nortman this afternoon. And I was just in a mode of I need to lock in. So I decided to play... I'm blanking on the name of the song. I'm 6 feet from the edge, and I'm thinking One Last Breath by Creed. And a producer from 620 WTMJ knocked on the door, walked in the room, and he goes, what the hell are you doing? I was blasting Creed. So that is why I asked you what you rate Creed on a scale of 1 to 10. That's how I got in the zone today.
I mean, getting in the zone to One Last Breath is... We called you, you're the butt rock aficionado.
Yeah.
To be like, all right, I got to lock in here some bleeping Creed.
Brother, the other day, I was hanging a tension rod. You know what that is, I assume. Will, you know what a tension rod is?
Yes.
No idea.
Showers.
Shower
Or
curtains.
blinds.
Yeah, this is for blinds in my living room. It's the rod that you can extend,
okay,
and then
yeah,
it'll
yeah.
just stick to the wall.
You screw
essentially.
it, and then it moves further and tightens.
Bingo. So I was hanging a very long tension rod in my living room on Monday night, and that MFer was heavy because I had the curtains on there. It was much longer than my arm span, probably 9 feet, maybe 10. And
You know, you can make it easier by bringing them towards the center and doing it that way.
well, yes, but also I had to cover about 10 feet. And I'm one man, and I'm going like 11 feet in the air because I have floor to ceiling
Yeah,
windows.
I'm just telling you that if the curtains are on either end, it is going to be heavier and more difficult as opposed to in the middle, like from physics standpoint.
No, I understand that, and I put them in the middle, but it was still heavy.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's
And
Or you're
I have
just
like
weak.
I have a weird.
also possible.
Yes, very possible. But I have a weird nook in my living room. It's about 2 feet between like the wall and the end of the window. So there's a little crevice there where it extends like an extra 1.5 feet where I needed to put the pole, but I can't get back there because you can't fit a ladder back there. You can't fit a stool back there. You can't fit anything back there. So I am in a very awkward position trying to lift this heavy ass tension rod. And I turned around to my girlfriend and I said, and I quote, "Babe, please go on Spotify, go to Creed, play their most played song," which of course is Higher. She played Higher, and guess what, Joshy? I got that tension rod to stick.
I mean, this might work for you, but it's very strange behavior. And it might be some like brain chemistry thing where you're able to focus or it's a placebo and you think you're a better operator when Creed's happening. Either way, that's not normal behavior. And if somebody told me that, I would tell them no. I'm not doing that. I'm not turning on Creed because you think it's going to help you hang a tension rod.
Well,
better.
the beauty is my girlfriend probably doesn't even know who Creed is because she only listens to like Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And Coldplay and Bruno Mars, etc. So, yeah, there you go. Nuggeteers, ESPN Madison on YouTube says, "Strouf is relentless." Quote, "That's how conversations work." That's hilarious.
You are relentless.
Well, that is how conversations work. I say things at you, and you say
but
things back at me.
Most times, now correct me if I'm wrong. Everybody else that's in the room with us or Hunter. Most people you start up conversations with, you are operating under the standing that they're willing to have a conversation.
I typically think, given our relationship between the two of us, we co-host this program together. We have in the past gotten beers outside of work together. I would consider us on a friendly basis.
Yes.
I don't know if I'd go as far to say we are friends, but I would say at the very least we're friendly.
Correct.
So
But just being friendly with someone doesn't mean you want to talk to them.
see, that's where you lose me. I always want to talk to everybody. I'm a friendly guy.
We're starting to see why maybe I get annoyed because you always want to talk to. When my back's turned towards you and I'm doing whatever I'm doing, that's not, hey, like if you had something that was like, hey, I want your advice on this, or hey, I have to do this, can you help me do this? I would turn and listen.
Which I do sometimes.
Yes, and I listen. I oftentimes respond.
So you only want to talk to me when I stroke your ego first. That's the point you're making.
No. If you were asking me for help,
That's stroking your ego.
no, I'm saying like help, like, hey, I have to do this. Can you cover this for me for 5 minutes?
Oh, yeah, I do that for you all the time.
Yes. I'm not
So you
saying
only
like,
want to
I'm
talk
not
to
saying-
me when it's convenient for you? Would that be the word?
Yes, when it's useful. I want there to be use behind the conversation. Yeah. Hey,
You're a jerk.
if you've got something to get off your chest and you're like, hey, I need to vent, I'll listen. But just volleying at me.
So I need to preface everything I say to you. Hey, Josh, just so you know, we're going to do Mr. Irrelevant right now. Is it okay if I talk to you?
No, the lights come on. It's showbiz, baby.
You are a jerk. Unbelievable.
I whatever you have that is like, I'm just going to talk for talking's sake. I don't have that gene, if that isn't clear yet. You've been around me long enough to know I very rarely just say something to you that's apropos of nothing. Usually when I'm talking, there's a purpose.
You know what? I'll give you that. And I will, self-awareness, most important human quality, I will say, sometimes I just say stuff.
Yeah, a lot.
Okay, I don't know if that was necessary. Hunter, go ahead.
Definitely on Josh's side with this. You can't just be volleying stuff at like other people. Like that. First of all, that's what your girlfriend is for. Like I do that to my wife, Sarah. Like I'll just throw stuff out there and just be like, "Hey, I was thinking about this today," and like that's what that person is for. You can't just be doing that to people at work. That's not fair to them. Don't let them into the trap of your mind just because you feel like they need to be. That's kind of selfish on your end.
I don't want to be in this whatever prison your mind's in.
It's not a prison, dude. It's like
prison.
it's a carnival.
That
my
sounds
brain is
awful.
awesome.
I don't want my brain
your
to be a
carnival's
carnival.
my prison.
My brain is awesome. Now, here's the thing. We do have a member on the panel every Wednesday and some Fridays who I think is a little bit wired more like me than he is Josh. That, of course, is our new college graduate, Will Sommers.
Congrats, Will. Will and I sit back there in that room that he's in currently in mostly silence, and I think we're both quite happy with that arrangement.
Hold on. Here's the difference, though. There's a fundamental difference between how Will operates in that room and 90% of the time how I operate in that room. I don't come to that room to work. I come to that room to grab things, to bounce ideas off of you, etc., right?
But oftentimes, I'm usually working.
Yeah, but you use that term lightly.
I mean, I'm there. I'm supposed to be there. I'm oftentimes doing other things that aren't actively like on air.
And you've seen it. Like, I'll come back there, and sometimes I'll throw my headphones on. I'll use that as a space where I need to lock in.
When I see those headphones come out, I think, thank God.
Well, is Joshy being a jerk?
I don't think he's being a jerk. I mean, for me and him, this like is a domain of just like dudisms, I would say. Like we do sit here in silence and it's like, oh my gosh, you see that shot last night? Yeah, that was sick. And then we don't talk for like another 5 minutes until
shot,
something else comes
by the
up.
way, that shot last night?
Yeah.
As much as I do not like Tyrese Halliburton right now, kind of sick.
But I do think there is something to the point of Josh of a guy waking up at 4 a.m. that takes a toll on a guy. So you kind of got to feel out where he is mentally every day. So you can't just go
It's
barging
not
in.
like this just started happening, right? Let's not act like Josh just started waking up at 4 a.m. This has been his life for over a year. It's not like this is the first week I've ever popped in and tried to have a conversation with Josh. That's been happening for over a year.
And my response has been the same. If anything, I've been consistent.
See, then this puts even more on you, Strouf. Because if this has been happening for over a year, at some point you've got to learn. Like,
Catch a hint.
if you're saying that self-awareness is important 365 days and you haven't picked up on it, like, what are we doing, man?
The fundamental issue you have is you can't understand somebody who wouldn't want to talk and who wouldn't find what you're saying is interesting.
Here's what I'm realizing. Me and Josh maybe just aren't as close as I think we are. I think that's what's happening here.
You see, now you're trying to do the guilt trip thing. I'd say you're a friend.
Oh, wow.
That doesn't mean because we're friends, you can just volley nonsense at me at any given time.
But that's what I'm good at.
Well,
That's what makes me
we need
me.
to compromise here.
That's what makes me me.
Maybe you say, "Hey, are you in the mood to listen to me talk about nothing?" And I can say yes or no.
When would you ever say yes?
No, probably not. Maybe if I'm having a few cocktails
Well, that's
and
different.
we're out.
Different setting.
Yeah,
All right. You want to hear me talk about the Packers wide receiver room?
I would love to.
All right.
See?
Well, you on board? Packers wide receiver room?
Yeah, let's transition.
Hunter, you good at that?
Yeah, I guess.
All right, now that I've got everybody's consent, let's do the damn show 15 minutes in. Here we go. I've been thinking.
Oh, jeez. I mean, that's a strap in, folks. Strouf's been thinking.
Hell yeah, brother. All right, I've been thinking about the Packers wide receiver room quite a bit because for obvious reasons, there is a ton of excitement around the Packers wide receiver room, right? First time since 2002, they take a wide receiver in the first round in Matthew Golden out of Texas. Third round, their board falls in a unique way. They go wide receiver again. Savion Williams out of TCU. 6'4", seems like a guy that can really be versatile if he's in the right system. Hopefully he is. And they add some new pieces to that room, those two. This offseason, they added McCole Hardman. I just want to throw that out there. I don't think that's important to what I've been thinking about, but it is another name that's in that room. You have Bo Melton. You have Malik Heath. You obviously have the other four, three of which are healthy, in Romeo Dobbs, Dontavian Wicks, Jaden Reed, and then coming back from the ACL, hopefully sometime midseason or late season, is Christian Watson. This is a room, on the good side, that is stacked in terms of competition, right? It's crowded. We are going to see some awesome battles. It's going to be really interesting to see, come season start, how that hashes out, right? Who is playing where? What are the snap counts? What's the breakdowns? How are they being utilized, right? Where is Savion Williams playing? Where is Jaden Reed playing? How many snaps is Matthew Golden getting? I think that's a positive, right? Overall, that you have competition. Pressure creates diamonds, as we've said before. So more competition in terms of who's getting what snaps. I think that's a good thing. I don't want to get it twisted. I think it's a good thing. The thing I am nervous about, though, goes back to something we spent a ton of time on from between when the season ended in January to the NFL draft a couple weeks ago, and that was the Packers lack a number one receiver, and they lack a veteran receiver. Despite the excitement I have for the room and the excitement I have for the two young wide receivers they drafted in Golden and Williams, I do worry to a point that the problems that they experienced last year in that room aren't just all of a sudden going to be snap of the finger fixed. This was a team that led the NFL in drops. This was a team that had two wide receivers in the top 10 in the league in drops. This was a team who chalked some of their shortcomings offensively up to inexperienced wide receivers. And while I have high hopes for what Matthew Golden can be as a first-round receiver, and I do have high hopes, maybe not this year, but in the coming years, that Savion Williams can become a versatile piece on the Packers offense, I do worry a bit that the inexperienced dilemma that the Packers have experienced the last 2 years at that position isn't necessarily going to be fixed just because you added two rookie wide receivers, right? Those are guys that have yet to play a snap in the NFL. So that is something that worries me. And again, I don't want to get it twisted because I do have excitement for the Packers wide receiver room and the offense as a whole. But it feels to me that this is not the recipe to fixing the issues you had last year, at least from the get-go in the 2025 season, Joshy. I don't want to overcomplicate it because I am excited. And I think both of those guys add an interesting dynamic to the Packers offense in that room. But for a team that lacked experience, drafting two rookies doesn't seem to fix the problem there unless the guys that have been in the room do finally take that step we were anticipating last year.
Yeah, what you're mainly looking for, and if we were to take a measured approach, it's you give both Matthew Golden and Savion Williams some grace. They'll be not necessarily features, they will be role players. They will have packages they know and they can work in, and they will have plays that are basically called for them. You want to sort of mix them in. I think those two can benefit from having guys who just did what they're currently doing, and that's being rookies and trying to figure out an offense, get to know Matt LaFleur, Jordan Love, all of that. I think the reason there was such a problem with the wide receiver room 2 years ago was there's basically guys who dealt with Aaron Rodgers and then brand new rookies, and that was it, which is not the best way to. I mean, Romeo Dobbs went as far as saying I barely even talked to Aaron Rodgers. So there wasn't much going on there in terms of here's bringing you along as a young player in a new league with all these veterans, and you're learning a lot, you're changing a lot. I think you have to project some sort of improvement from Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, Romeo Dobbs, however it is. There has to be some sort of level of improvement from those guys to really be optimistic.
But don't you hear what you're saying? Don't you remember doing this a year ago?
Yes, I agree, but I think within that, I still understand young players are young players and some come along faster. I mean, Malik Neighbors went out and was an instant contributor.
Brian Thomas.
Marvin Harrison Jr., I think he had a pretty forgettable rookie season.
He did. I would agree.
And that was a guy who you can say it's one of two things. You're either not good enough or you just weren't ready to play and you weren't brought along to work. You didn't develop as quickly as you'd hoped to. I don't think I've seen the best from Jaden Reed or not Romeo Doubs or Dontavian Wicks in terms of NFL players.
I tend to agree.
Now, is that going to happen at the start of the season, or is it going to be a process throughout the season? I don't know.
Or could it take more time than this season? Right.
I'm not going to give up on guys who've shown signs this early. And I know it's really put up or shut up time for those guys. Like, this is really their last. It was the same thing for Romeo Doubs. We're all thinking, and people are already connecting him to possibly being a trade option for the Steelers. Like, the book on Romeo Doubs is written. Now, there was some behavioral stuff mixed in there with not showing up and getting suspended for a game. But by the end of your third year, people have a pretty good idea of who you are and what you're going to be. There are anomalies that come along every so often that, for whatever reason, in year 5 or 6 become NFL players. But, Chewy says it, 1 to 2 is a big deal, but 2 to 3 is where you really make that step and become an NFL player, unless you're one of the few guys who's just immediately a superstar. I felt like we got a big jump, 2 to 3 from Tucker Kraft.
Agreed. Yep.
And we can't say the same about Luke Musgrave, but that was an injury-shortened season. I don't think the book's written on... you could even make a case for Christian Watson. Because of injuries, because of just the circumstances around them. Do we not think Jaden Reed walking into a situation where it's the Niners, where it's pretty stable, they got a good idea, or a place that the Chiefs, it'd probably be better careers for them and their numbers would be better at this point.
Yeah, of course it would. That's part of having the youngest roster in the NFL.
What we're trying to do here is basically figure out a pie chart of blame of why aren't these guys better yet? And there's so many factors here, and age is a portion of it, but it's not. There's a thing here that we have to get away from is youth isn't an excuse. I'm sick of hearing about youth.
Yeah, no.
But it's also an explanation.
It is an explanation, but it can't be an excuse, especially anymore. Right? I think the previous 2 seasons, maybe you can chalk it up to inexperience. And
if Dontavian Wicks comes out and starts dropping balls again, sorry,
that's a drop problem.
Yeah.
That's no longer your young receiver problem.
Sorry, you're now the 4th guy, 5th guy off the bench, and you have to prove to us we can trust you.
So I guess when you make that claim and you use that as an example, right? If Wicks is to come out and has drop issues early in the year and he falls down the depth chart, that's the benefit of having a creditor, right? Is you will have realistically 5 logical options, and that's not counting Melton, that's not counting Hardman, that's not counting Heath. Of receivers you can actively trust to be on the field with Jordan Love at any given time this season, which is great, right? Depth is a good problem to have at any position in the NFL. But to a point, I feel like we're almost doing the same thing we did a year ago, which was can't wait for these receivers to take a big step while adding 2 rookies to the mix in Golden and Williams. And again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I don't want to be negative Nancy. I'm not doubting that the Packers can take a nice step because at the end of the day, Josh, I think we would agree on this. It ultimately falls on the quarterback, right? It will ultimately fall on Jordan Love's play.
I also think a significant amount needs to point back at the play caller too.
Agreed. How do you fit those guys into the scheme? How do you maximize their abilities?
There's talent there. Get the best out of them. How?
Yep.
I do think we need to also have a discerning eye when it comes to not just looking at, Jaden Reed is the Packers' leading receiver, but he only has 70 catches for X amount of yards. And it's, is it a function of the offense? Is it a function of Luke Musgrave and Tucker Kraft being such big portions of the offense? We need to be able to evaluate why or if numbers aren't as gaudy as we expect. I fully expect and will be disappointed if we don't see a significant increase in the overall standing of the passing offense. I'm not saying there's going to be a 1,200-yard receiver with 8 touchdowns, but there's a lot of options, a lot of mouths to feed, a lot of guys who are probably deserving of seeing the ball, and the biggest factor there is both Matt LaFleur having the right guys on the field, Matt LaFleur calling the right plays, and Jordan Love making the right throws.
Yeah.
Which I think, last year, all three of those things I just mentioned were less than adequate or less than what we expected.
Inconsistent.
Yeah.
Maybe more so than less than adequate. But yeah, I'm hopeful that this offense can take a step. I'm just hesitant.
The thing is, we are going to be hopeful until Jordan Love either becomes a full-fledged star or not.
Yeah.
That's basically, and it, like you said, it points back to him. Because we were hopeful in a different way, but we believed in the Packers because they had Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
And that was always the case. It didn't matter what the defense was, who the defensive coordinator. You could point to those things as possible flaws, but you knew every single Sunday or Thursday or sometimes Monday, you had a really good chance to win.
Superstars elevate the people
Yes.
around them, right? It's as simple as that. And that goes back to your point that you made a little bit ago on would these guys have a better start to their career if they were in Kansas City? Probably.
Yeah.
Right? But that's because there's a superstar playing quarterback in Kansas City.
And one of the best play callers as well.
That's a good point. Well, you were really smiling about 2 minutes ago. What's going on over there?
No, they was just a private text that I got. I can't. Yeah.
Good job, buddy.
Well, Will's got the ladies blowing up his phone.
No.
Glad we
It's
broke
not
into
very
that.
Good for you. Yeah, good.
See a funny Colston Loveland meme?
No, just that he's really good at football. Yeah, and he just is gritty. That's all I saw from my analysis, my draft analysis. Only guy that was worth taking a look at.
No, because on our draft night coverage, I went to Will during the Bears pick, and he said it's Tyler Warren without a doubt.
That was AI.
Nope.
Don't believe I actually said that.
Yeah, I'd like to see the proof.
Yeah, you got a clip?
Not handy, unfortunately. Not handy.
And how would I know that wasn't AI modeling like you did with Ben Brust's voice?
Because first off, it's not AI. I mean, we call it AI, but it's not
Voice
actually
cloning.
AI. Voice cloning is the correct term there. It's not, but okay.
How can you prove that?
I'm not doing this right now. All right, let's go back to the Packers because Joshy, I know you being the draft nerd you are, you've done your homework for what I'm about to ask you. Now that you've had some time to digest the 2025 Green Bay Packers draft class, who are you staking your claim to? You gonna have a guy?
There's two very obvious ones that I think everyone's kind of circling.
Yep.
That's Barron Sorrell. Is the guy people are really looking at. And the other one, I'm trying to figure out what I think and how.
Can I guess?
Yes.
Is it Warren Brinson?
No. I think he's a floor raiser. I think that's a moderate ceiling, but he's going to be a guy that you kind of just plug and play and go, this is a good run defender. We don't really know what he does well otherwise, but in obvious run situations or in a rotational basis, he's going to be useful. I like Colin Oliver. I like the fact that he sort of broke the trends. The Packers, he's a smaller guy for an edge rusher. He also has the ability to play like traditional off-ball linebacker, inside linebacker. I'm really interested to see, first of all, is he even a factor? And if he is a factor, how does Jeff Hafley decide to use him? Because I think it's hard to see what Edgerrin Cooper did last year and not think they saw that guy and go, he might not be or play the same, but we can use both of those guys on the field at the same time to create very interesting mismatches and do the simulated pressure stuff where it looks like, oh no, they could be bringing as many 6 or 7 guys, but then drop into coverage and, all that sort of stuff. I like the tactical advantage he could provide.
I do too, and I'm curious to see how they utilize some of these defensive pieces. Because to your point with Cooper, but also with Evan Williams and Javon Bullard and some of the rookie pieces they used on defense last year, is Hafley going to be itching to get some of those guys into the rotation more heavy than maybe you anticipate? Now, I was going to bring this up, and then it happened before I was able to bring it up. But I got to give credit to Barron Sorrell's father, or who we think is his father.
Barry
Sorrell. He comments on every single one of our YouTube videos. Just the same thing every time. 99 will shine. And as you were talking about your guys, Barry Sorrell, ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube, comments, 99 will shine in all capital letters. I'm just fascinated by Barry Sorrell. I've asked him to call into the show several times. Won't do it. But does he show up to every single show we have and comment the same thing every day. Yes, he does. So the level of commitment by Barry Sorrell, if it actually is Barry Sorrell, is thrilling to me.
Yeah, I mean, Sorrell is, I think, widely regarded as probably like the Packers steal of the draft.
For sure, and I think it also helps the moment, right?
Yes.
Barry Sorrell, or Baron Sorrell being in Green Bay, getting to walk the stage, getting to shake hands with the commissioners, and so on and so forth. Barry Sorrell chimes back in all caps. I am the dad. We have confirmed Barry Sorrell is the dad.
A shout out to you, Barry. Thanks for listening, first and foremost. And let me tell you, I sure hope 99 will shine.
I also hope 99
I believe
will shine.
in 99 to shine. Once I went back and got the opportunity to actually watch him, and after it, you saw a lot of things where you're like, this is a guy who might not be in terms of like the edge rusher, like the traditional guy you're viewing, but he's going to be disruptive and going to be a consistent, like sort of on the Mike Daniels scale of things, which if I'm comparing someone to Mike Daniels, that is the utmost respect. I love Mike Daniels. I think he's one of the most underrated Packers in modern times.
Totally agree.
Where he was very consistent, very disruptive, always on the field, and always a difference maker. And if that's the type of guy, and Sorrell can rush from both the inside and the outside, I'm all for it. I'm excited. And I think that the positional versatility is sort of a thing that the Packers have really keyed in on.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a thing we talked about really on the offensive line for a long time. And it seems like the defense, where it makes sense and where it's possible, they are taking a similar approach to, we just want a bunch of guys that can do a bunch of things that's going to confuse an offense and raise doubt and make them delay, because offenses inherently have an advantage. They know the plan. Mm-hmm. But if you make them stop and think a little bit more, because I don't know who's coming off the edge over there and how they're coming, that's how you put yourself in a good spot.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think, it seems like the Packers, and they started this a little bit last year, but it seems like even with some of their moves in the draft and some of their moves in free agency with Isaiah Simmons, it seems like they just want to be versatile as hell defensively, right? We know Javon Bullard can play safety, but he can also step in the slot when they're in nickel, right? You look at Isaiah Simmons, who can play a little bit of safety, play a little bit of linebacker. You mentioned Colin Oliver, the guy who a lot of people are viewing as maybe one of the steals of the draft for Green Bay, a guy that can line up in the edge, but also line up inside at linebacker. So it looks like they just want guys, similar to how they've always approached offensive line, defensively, guys that can play all over the field and be impact players. And look, Jeff Hafley's just getting comfortable, right? This is only year 2 of a highly regarded defensive coordinator.
Can I make a prediction?
I would love a prediction.
He's a head coach next year.
I totally agree. I just hope you're wrong.
Same.
Because I think...
But that's the doomerism fan in me going, we finally got a good DC here,
right,
and it's going to get snatched away.
Yeah, and I mean, look, it's obviously happened on the other side of the ball a few times for the Packers. Nathaniel Hackett, right?
Failed miserably.
Totally. But I don't think that will be the case with Jeff Hafley.
No.
Despite his head coaching track record not being so great at Boston College.
Yeah, the difference is Matt LaFleur is the play caller. He's still the head coach of the offensive side of the ball. Jeff Hafley, I mean, as far as Matt LaFleur wants it, he basically wants nothing to do with the defense. He wants a guy who's going to be the CEO of the defense, the head coach of the defense. He'll obviously participate on that side.
Give us 2 cents, but
remember the big deal of Matt LaFleur saying, I think I'm going to have to be more active on that side of the ball.
I do.
Which told us he probably wasn't really active at all. And that was with Joe Barry while the world was crumbling around us.
The world was crumbling around us. Yeah. And they obviously took a different approach last year. They bring in Robert Saleh as an offensive consultant. They bring in Luke Getsy as a defensive consultant towards the end of the year.
Getsy also a failure.
That's true.
Will knows about that.
Yes, he does.
Depends how you interpret failure.
I mean,
did his offense or team have a winning record?
Got us the number 1 pick.
Failure. You just failed the best.
That's true. That's a good way to put it.
The best
All right, speaking of Will, it is Will Sommers' weekly opportunity to shine, as Will Sommers gives us his fastest 2 minutes recap of the week that was. Typically, there's a theme to this. I don't think there's a theme today. It's just the week that was.
Hang on, before we get
too
to
many
Will,
themes.
Just so people who weren't paying attention to our draft coverage, I just have this quick audio for everyone.
I feel amazing. It's Tyler Warren. It's so Tyler Warren. He's going to be such a weapon for Ben Johnson. I mean, you guys just wait.
So it's going to be.
There we go.
Sounds digitized.
Thank you, Hunter. I actually am super appreciative you just did that.
It's crazy the steps AI has taken.
Wow.
That sounded just like me.
All right, we'll see what non-AI Will has to say as it is time for Will's Week in Review. Big week in the life of Will Sommers. College graduation.
Yeah,
Wow.
big week.
Good for you. All right, well,
sports.
the floor is yours.
All right. We did have a big weekend, or big event over the weekend that happens only once a year where everyone gets all dressed up to celebrate. That is college graduation. I graduated and received 2 degrees, a Bachelor of Arts in Mass Communications and a Master's degree in Being the Man. Not really sure what Summa or Magna Cum Laude is, but it seemed like everyone except me got it, so I must have forgot to put it on my name pronunciation. Oh well. There's always next time. The Kentucky Derby also took place on Saturday. While every single horse in the field was related to Secretariat, the biggest disintegration of the day came from Sandman, who had 6-1 odds to win and finished in 7th place. While a lot of people wrote off Sovereignty as the second favorite to journalism, Sovereignty gained the authority to govern itself in first place and won the Kentucky Derby. The award for best
Surprised
horse
you got
name
that.
goes to Tiztastic. Saturday night, the Clippers took on the Nuggets in Game 7 of the series. Aaron Gordon Ramsay cooked up 22 points for the Nuggets en route to a 120-101 win over the Clippers. The loss was almost as sad as the 2004 romance movie The Notebook for Kawhi and Gosling Leonard, as he had 22 points in the loss. James Harden also looked like Josh DiMaggio during the first 2.5 minutes of Mr. Irrelevant as he failed to show up.
Nice.
We had another Game 7 on Saturday as the Dallas Stars took on the Colorado Avalanche in the NHL playoffs. Instead of causing an avalanche in Dallas, Mikko Harrison Rantanen single-handedly beat the Avalanche with 3 goals and an assist in a 4-1 win over the team that traded him earlier this year. On Sunday, it was the Warriors and the Rockets in a winner-go-home game as Buddy the Elf Healed was spreading joy for all to hear for Warriors fans as he looked like Ferris Bueller from behind the arc as he made a 3-pointer 9 times in a 103-89 win for the Warriors to advance. The last Game 7 of the weekend went late into Sunday evening as the Jets took on the Blues. The Blues held a 3-2 lead late in the third period, but with 1.6 seconds left, J. Cole Perfetti showed he's been ready for this moment all my life and tipped in a goal to send the game to overtime. The game would eventually go into double overtime before somebody became a grown-up as Adam Sandler Lowry scored the game winner to advance the Jets into the next round. With your Mr. Irrelevant weekend recap, I'm Will Sommers.
All right.
I didn't appreciate the shot.
Oh, that was a good
was a good
shot.
one.
It was an accurate shot. You actually showed up on time for the first time in a week today.
I'm surprised you understood the sovereignty joke.
Yeah. I mean, did I have to look up the definition of sovereignty on Saturday? Yes, I did.
Oh, so you saw people making the jokes on Twitter and you said, I don't get it?
No, I did get it because I know what sovereign means. Sovereignty is something I really struggled to pronounce. No, I saw Tom Fernelli tweet, sovereignty beats journalism. And then he said something to the effect of tale as old as time or something, which was very funny to me.
Was it funny since you weren't quite sure of the definition?
No, I understood it. Let
me pull the room. Does it sound like he understood it?
No.
No. On Sunday morning, he told me he didn't understand it.
No, I told you I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to pronounce it. That's different.
He's like, I know the original word is sovereign, but how do you say like the long form version?
Well, in my defense,
How else would you say something
like,
once you add an ITY?
but that's not all they added. Right? Is it spelled differently?
No.
No, it's not.
No, because you don't add an ITY. It's spelled SOVEREI. Oh, I guess it is just sovereignty, isn't it?
It's like if you add ly to the end of a word.
Hey, the good news is I want some money on sovereignty.
If I could bottle the moment of me, it doesn't sound like it, does he? And the rest of the room going, no, not at all. It was the most vindicated I've ever felt. Because sometimes I feel like I say something to you and you're like, no. And I'm like, I think I'm not the only one who believes this. I gotta go to the cast more.
Will Hunter, can we ban Josh from saying the word vindicated on this program? Because I feel like that's been happening a lot recently.
Well, I'm the most vindicated man in America.
For a guy that's really kind of on fire right now, for him to feel most vindicated just now says something.
That's a good point. It's a good point by you.
I mean, my
I'm good with
vindication tour.
using it because it makes you look like an ass.
Yeah.
Can we get a vindication tracker? Like we need a mark, like a calendar every time Josh is
Yeah,
vindicated.
that's a good idea.
My tour de force and vindication started when Aaron Rodgers got Robert Saleh fired, which he swore he had nothing to do with and didn't know was going to happen, despite the evening prior having a lengthy conversation
With Woody Johnson. Yeah. And he says, we just talked for a while. Oh, did you?
We were just shooting the bleep. But no, he never told me. Didn't mention what he was going to do hours later.
Unbelievable.
Is he married?
We're going to get to that when we get to one word.
Oh.
I imagine it will be more than a one-word conversation. So before we get to one word, I do want to talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs because they've been bonkers. But in one word, little change up for you today, Joshy. I wrote them.
No.
I wrote the one-word subjects this week.
Oh, jeez.
And I want everybody here to play along with me. But before we get there, so you heard it from Will, the NBA playoffs been pretty bonkers. We mentioned the Tyrese Halliburton shot and another ridiculous comeback for the Pacers last night as they take a 2-0 series lead on the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, I've been very open on the show. I'm much more of a college basketball fan than I am an NBA fan, but I watch both, obviously, right? I'm just a sports fan. I enjoy watching. But we are barely into the second round of the NBA playoffs, and it has already blown March Madness out of the water. I mean, it's not even close. And March Madness was still fun, but there just wasn't a lot of drama. There wasn't a lot of buzzer beaters. There wasn't a lot of, the sexiness that makes March Madness the spectacle it is. We just didn't have a lot of that this year. And in the NBA playoffs, boy, is it making up for it. Buzzer beaters, down to the wire, overtime games, game sevens, right? I mean, you've had a ton of drama and high stakes games in the NBA playoffs. And again, we're only a few games into the second round. We still have the conference finals. We still have the finals. You've got upsets galore. You've got shocking results. The NBA playoffs have already blown March Madness out of the water. And there's still so much left to happen. Right? For the first time in game one of every second round series, the road team won. You don't see that. And that's what makes this exciting because you have a 6 and 7 matchup in the Western Conference, which is not normal. But the Western Conference, outside of the very top with OKC and Houston, I mean, it was down to the wire. It was down to the 82nd game on how those standings would look come playoff time because there was, maybe 2 or 3 games tops that separated the 3 through 10 seeds? I mean, it was a wild finish to the regular season. You bring that over into the postseason, and you've got series going 6 or 7 games, and you've got these great dunks and stars showing out, and even non-stars showing out. What'd you call him? Buddy the Elf Hield?
Buddy the Elf Hield.
Right. I mean, what he has done the last week has been ridiculous. You didn't see that coming from Buddy Hield. And now the Warriors will be without Steph Curry, so there's probably more where that came from for Buddy Hield. Jake on ESPN Milwaukee's YouTube says, this is the best playoffs in a while. Superstars are on full display. I totally agree. It's been thrilling to watch. So, yes, I know we make the jokes on this program. Oh, Strouf's not an NBA guy. Strouf is the NBA guy. I get I'm not an NBA diehard, right? We can all admit that comfortably. But damn, has this been fun the last couple of weeks, Joshy.
I got a full disclosure here, and I'm trying to be the best teammate possible. I couldn't be less interested in the NBA playoffs.
Really?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with myself. It's protecting myself from what I fear about the Milwaukee Bucks. So watching more of it and watching teams have fun and success is something I'm having a hard time centering myself and goose frabaing, to throw back a way old reference. Someone else here in the audience, goose fraba?
But Will definitely doesn't have
I
it.
didn't bring my dictionary.
I mean,
Hunter.
Yeah, I got it. I got distracted by other stuff, I'll be
From
honest.
Anger Management.
Yeah.
It's by what?
The movie Anger Management.
Goose
Adam
Frabbing.
Sandler.
Adam Sandler. No.
I still don't know what goose frabbing
You would
means.
say it when you're getting mad or frustrated, and it's supposed to center you.
You say goose fraba?
Yes.
Definitely a generational thing here, Josh. That movie was
Josh,
huge in like 8th grade for me.
I don't even know if I've seen the movie.
I've
To
seen
be
the
quite
movie.
frank.
Josh, here's the thing. I think maybe you should start goose frobbing when I'm talking to you.
Maybe that's the keyword. I'll say that, and that should mean bleep off.
Yeah.
Wait, this was released in 2009. That can't be right.
No. Anyway. All right, that's my take in the NBA playoffs.
For it to pay off, there has to be more upsets.
I think there's going to be.
Like, right.
I
The
think
Pacers need to win this series for it to fully deliver. It's been, full disclosure, I've been, placing some wagers here and there.
not watching.
No, heavens no. The best thing ever, and it hasn't happened in about a week or two, is making a bet on the late game and not knowing the result, but opening the app or whatever you're using and checking, did I win or did I not? That's kind of how I approach it. But as it, like, the conference finals, I'll definitely be more interested in. I don't know how much I care about, like, Knicks, Celtics, unless the Celtics lose.
Well, we're off and running. New York with a 1-0 lead in that series. You've got 2 games tonight, Wednesday night, Thunder Nuggets, as Denver leads that series 1-0 over the top seed in the Western Conference, and then Knicks Celtics, to Josh's point, game 2 in Boston is tonight, both those games on TNT. You only get one game tomorrow, that's Wolves Warriors game 2, and then the Cavs and Pacers back on it in 2 nights in Indiana with the 2-0 lead for the Pacers. David on the ESPN Milwaukee YouTube chat with an interesting question. Strouf, if the Pacers pull this series out against the Cavs, do you feel less bad about the Bucks losing to them? The answer's no. I don't think, even if the Pacers find a way to win it all, I don't think I feel better. No. I think when you have the expectations we do as Bucks fans, which is to compete for a championship, especially when you have the 2 top dogs that you do, and Damian Lillard and Giannis, even with the Dame injury, you don't feel good about how that series ended. You don't feel good about blowing a 7-point lead with whatever it was, 45 seconds left. And now you face the uncertainty of Giannis, right? Something that we're going to talk about for the next several months is, will Giannis be a Buck in 25-26? And if he is, it still doesn't look like a pretty season, right? It doesn't look like a season that, could end in a championship. So no, it feels crappy no matter how you splice it, David. I understand the question totally, but I just think when you look at it this way, it sucks no matter what. It sucks. And look, I understand I get paid to talk, but I can't come up with anything much better than it sucks.
This also honestly makes it worse for me, because like the Bucks were in a number of those games. Like, they won a game and then they blow a lead. They had another game that was tight, and it's just like, okay, if the Pacers are doing this to the Cavs, like, the Bucks would have been in a competitive series with the Cavs then. And it's just like, they really weren't that far off here, even though it felt like it because they lost in 5. So it just makes it worse for me. I'm more annoyed when I watch the Pacers now play.
Yeah, I mean, despite how wild that finish was last night, it was still frustrating.
I got distracted there looking up the definition between slice and splice and what.
Well, they're similar. Isn't splice cutting it? Okay, let me guess here. Splice is cutting it anywhere. Slice is down the middle.
Slice is when you need to create a new array or something new from it. So you slice it and now you have this. Splice is you are modifying and trying to keep in origin. So slice, if something, I need to slice this piece of wood to make it fit.
Sure.
Splice, I'm going to go down the middle and just have 2 of them, and they're going to be 2 separate.
Yeah,
Fun fact.
I guess the only
they get
time
used interchangeably, but I was wondering, do they have a
did I
definable
use splice or slice?
You use splice.
Okay.
And I thought, is that the right word to say? And then I thought, is there even a difference? Is it just 2 words that mean the same thing? But there is a fine difference. Fun fact. Everyone here's smarter now. You're welcome, Will.
The more you know.
Glad I zoned out during you talking about that.
Yeah, I'm also glad you zoned out because it didn't matter. All right, we do this each and every Wednesday, except I'm doing it this week. I've got a list of topics from around the sports world and adjacent before we get to Joshy's big What We Learned that we held on to from Monday. It is time now to play One Word Wednesday. I have topics. Everybody on the panel is going to participate today. That includes Hunter, includes Will, includes myself. That, of course, includes Joshy. As Jake chimes in on ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube saying Strouf has a prison haircut. Yeah, I do. We raised $5,000 for the MAC Fund. Great cause. Here we go. One word Wednesday. We start with what we just talked about. The Indiana Pacers win again, down 7 points with a minute left. Joshy, your one word.
Cool.
Will, your one word.
Carlisle.
Hunter, your one word.
Frustrated.
Ridiculous, my one word. How do you do that twice in 3 games? That's crazy. It's unheard of stuff right there. The Pittsburgh Steelers have traded wide receiver George Pickens to Hunter's Dallas Cowboys. Josh, your one word.
Rodgers.
We'll get there. Will, your one word.
Hard knocks?
That's 2 words. Hunter, your one
Hard
word.
dash knocks?
Since you always break the rule, Super Bowl, baby. This is our year. They're going all in. Let's go.
It's unbelievable how fast Hunter could switch. It's incredible. Confusing from the Steelers' perspective. Good move for the Cowboys, though. Sticking with the Steelers, DK Metcalf, Calvin Austin, Robert Woods, and Pat Freiermuth as Aaron Rodgers' potential weapons. Josh, your one word.
Weak.
Underwhelming.
That was going to be my word. Hunter.
9 wins. I realized saying 9 could also be German no, and I wasn't trying to go that route, so 9 wins.
You know, it's really ironic is SportsCenter is literally showing those 4 names on the TV right now. How fun is that? Yeah, underwhelming was the word I went to. Rodgers is not going to be happy with that. How about this? Aaron Rodgers shows up to the Kentucky Derby with a ring on his ring finger. Joshy, your one word.
Douche.
Okay.
Happy.
Okay.
Attention.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
How about congratulations? Aaron Rodgers may be married.
You'd just be happy for it?
Yeah, just be happy for the guy. Wedded bliss.
So, had Aaron Rodgers not had a long, very public track record that we can all refer back to, him saying at end, why are people so concerned about my personal life? Him making his first public appearance, which he knows everyone's going to see because he walked the red carpet there. You don't have to do that. You're Aaron Rodgers. You can do what you want. So Aaron Rodgers appearing in that moment, despite him saying, I live a very private life, I don't want people, I have an inner circle, he then shows up with a wedding ring that he's never worn before and then goes back into his silence. And then when people ask and ponder, they're going to be like, well, why does everyone care about my personal life? He's doing the thing.
He does do the thing quite often.
He does the thing all the time.
Maybe he just has fun with like messing with people like you. Maybe he's not married at all. He just wore the ring so people would
Here's the thing.
overanalyze it.
I couldn't be less indifferent to his marriage.
Come on.
I don't know who he's even engaged to, who he's dating. I hope they have a happy marriage. If I were to prognosticate in how Aaron Rodgers and his relationships go, I'd say I hope he signed a good prenup.
Wow.
The Utah Hockey Club is rebranding to the Utah Mammoth, Joshy.
Tight.
Fitting.
Hunter?
Great choice.
I love
Boring.
I love the NHL going towards the, well, this is an extinct creature, but the mythical, like the Kraken.
Yeah.
Like, that's fun.
Yeah, the
Sports are
Nashville
fun.
Predator is a mythical creature.
yeah,
the New
but
Jersey
hold on.
Devil
Hold on.
is.
The Mighty Ducks are...
Hold on. Can we talk about something real quick, though?
What?
Utah Hockey Club is sick.
No, it's not.
I agree. I
And
do
Washington
agree
football
Yeah.
team was sick.
Yes.
It was sick.
No, it
Yeah,
wasn't.
Heineke.
I think we should just call ourselves what we are. We're a hockey club.
I think it
Too
would become
European.
lame
Are you a
if everyone-
communist? I don't want that European crap in my sports. This is America.
Wow.
Carlos Marx had some good ideas. I think if there are one or two of those in every league, it's cool, it's interesting.
Yes.
Like, I like the simple, plain logo, the typeface, but I also do think it, like, I think if you had a bunch of the Florida Hockey Club, Meh.
So UHC or WFT, which was better?
Well, I mean, I think the Washington, because they like kept the colors, because their color scheme's great.
It is.
I think Commanders is a flop of a name.
Totally agree.
Total flop.
Mammoth is at least cool.
And you'll get kids interested in it, and like more young people interested in hockey is a good thing for the sport. The logo's going to be huge. Like, it's going to look badass.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Then
it's got the mountains on it.
Oh, I haven't
it's
seen
great.
it.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The Kraken was a little too childish for me, but I like them taking the shot.
I do too.
The Vegas Golden Knights, that's a pretty cool one.
Yeah, they're playing my team right now.
How many NHL teams are there now?
There's 32. Huh. The Kraken made it 32. And Utah, of
I was
course,
to say the Utah.
it's just Arizona.
Yeah. I remember back to when they were trying to keep that team in Arizona. They were playing in like a 5,000 person stadium.
Oh, yeah, the Arizona State Stadium.
Was that a few years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were going to have like, basically they're going to play in like smaller than
The Resch Center.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, no, this is fine.
Yeah, no,
this is what professional teams do.
The capacity for the USHL team in Green Bay is larger than 5,000.
Yeah.
All right, 2 left for you guys. Brewers catcher William Contreras has a fractured middle finger on his catching hand, but will play through it.
Dog.
Grit.
Hard.
Badass. We're all on the same page.
Yeah.
Last one, and I am requiring you to keep it to one word. Today is the 250th episode of Mr. Irrelevant.
Improbable.
Surprising.
Exhausting.
Unexpected. We're all on the same page. Hunter uses exhausting, rightfully so. All right, you learned something new every day. We learned something new today. It's time now for What We Learn on Mr. Irrelevant, which, of course, is presented by our friends at Door County Distillery. Locally produced, handcrafted, award-winning spirits made locally in beautiful Door County. Whatever you're in the mood for, baby. Old-fashioned season. Cherry brandy infused with local Door County cherries, or 27-time gold medal award-winning single malt whiskey. If you like your bourbon old-fashions, I love the Door County Distillery bourbon. I just drink that on the rocks, though, baby. That is my stuff. DoorCountyDistillery.com is the website. Huge list of unique cocktail recipes, as well as the retailer nearest you for whatever product you're looking for. Again, that's DoorCountyDistillery.com. We've waited 48 hours. I told Josh to wait on it. Pause it. Wait till Wednesday. The long-awaited What We Learned from the one, the only Josh DiMaggio.
Audrey Jean Blackburn was found missing after 60 years.
I saw this.
A woman from Reedsburg. Now, I do want to preface, the situation in which she left was pretty dark, and I'm happy she was able to. But it's crazy that this woman basically picked up her entire life and the life she was living, moved elsewhere, and lived 60 years with nobody ever finding or locating her. And when the Reedsburg detectives actually found her, she's happy as could be. Now, there was it was marital issues, stuff like that she was running from, which you commend her for having the guts to do that, all that involved. I don't want to get into that part. But the idea of being able to disappear
For 60 years.
60 years. Like, it does get into, and maybe this is something I'm exposing myself on. Do you ever have the idea of, like, what if I just disappeared? Would I be able to stay hidden in a way? Not that I'm anything in specific. It's just the idea of, what if I just dropped everything and started a brand new life somewhere else, and could I manage?
So here's why I've thought about it, not because I'm actually considering doing it.
Right.
But I think back to another What We Learned that you were fascinated by for weeks, which was, of course, the Green Lake County man who disappeared to, like, Uzbekistan or something.
Yeah. Audrey crushed him.
Crushed him.
He barely made 60 days.
Well, he also faked his own death, which Audrey, to my understanding, did not do.
No, just upped and left.
So degree of
And nobody was
difficulty
able to
did the
locate
guy
her.
from Green Lake then? Like, do we give him a little bit of a more of a pass if we're rating these two?
I think he would have been better served just disappearing and being a missing persons case versus like potential death.
Faking your own death, which I would imagine is illegal, but I don't think he was charged with anything.
Well, remember, we found out it is not quite illegal to fake your death. it's what the problem is what it costs the city to do the search and rescue and all, like the detectives' times, the people searching time, all that.
People are nuts, man. But this is impressive.
Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Yeah, it's even more fascinating because this was a cold case. Obviously, 60 years. It's not like there's somebody actively working on this.
Well, they
case.
just changed detectives on the case, right, within the last few months.
Yes,
and they found out that somebody living in wherever she's living was using her social security number because it was her.
Yeah.
So it feels like we probably should have cracked this a while ago.
Right. Well, what ends up happening is it was a time when it wasn't as easy to track this stuff. And basically what they ended up doing was there was evidence of, and people still living, because, 60 years, you're dealing with some of the key witnesses and key people to talk to no longer are on Earth. But I believe it was the nanny or the babysitter had knowledge and was initially telling the story, but because back then knowing stuff and a woman leaving for which I think they understood was surrounded around abuse, she felt pressured to that not be the case and then not tell the accurate story. So then they basically said like, oh, well, she could just be living another life, and she was.
Yeah, that's exactly what she was doing. Well, Josh, you don't run away from us.
Do you think you could do it?
No. I'm too loud. We've been over this.
Yeah, we've literally opened the show 15 minutes on that.
Wouldn't be hard to find me.
I think I could do it.
You might be able to. You're a little bit more anonymous than I am.
I also think I could. I also fancy myself as somebody who watches Alone and Naked Afraid. I think I could subsist off the land if I had to.
Wait, you watch Naked and Afraid?
Oh, it is the worst thing I'm addicted to. As in, I know it's garbage.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about my shows, though, right? Temptation Island and Love Island.
WWE.
And The Bachelor.
Have you gotten into Love on the Spectrum?
No, but my barber, or what do I call her? Do I call her a barber?
Yeah, hairstylist.
My hairstylist. She's been telling me I need to watch it for months. I still haven't gotten into it.
It is the most pure, sweetest show on earth, and it's also extremely funny. And you're not laughing at them; you're laughing with them and their families.
I've seen clips of what's the one guy's name who's just a hit?
Connor?
Yes, Connor. Yes. How he's doing speed dating and he's marking no while they're still sitting there. That's awesome.
Yes, and he's so good at one-liners that they're like, just listen to me, and he's like, speak. He does this thing where when he feels I'm sweating like a ham, where he for some reason goes into a British accent just out of nowhere all the time.
Yeah.
And it's so endearing because these people are so sweet. They're so nice. They just want to be happy. And you're rooting for them, but you're also like, this is so insane. Like,
I love that. Yeah, that should probably be my next show. My hairstylist, who I obviously haven't seen in a while, was telling me about Connor a few months ago.
Yes.
And I was like, this guy sounds awesome.
I've been working on being able to do Connor's voice because my TikTok is full of Connor. Because every video I see of him, it's like one of those things I have to watch. Even if I've seen it, I'm watching it.
So
again.
What's the voice?
It's just he talks in sort of this like breathy, like there was one point where he learned somebody used the term coppa feel.
Oh yeah, I saw this clip.
If coppa feel I must, then coppa feel I shall.
And then he goes, and then they go, coppa feel means touching breasts.
Yeah.
What is it?
Cut that. Can we cut that? I didn't know that. Yeah, it's the best. Because his mom's like, say it, and then tells him.
Yeah, gets tricked into it.
It's the best.
All right, that'll do it for us today. That was really good. It's a good way to end the show. What a show. 250 in the books. Hopefully 250 more to come. Will Joshy be here or will he run away? That answer we will have on Friday.
We should do an off-grid, Mr. Irrelevant.
What do you mean by that?
We just go to the woods, camp out.
I love that idea.
Who can go off the grid
show
the longest?
camping trip?
I love that idea.
And we just bring a recorder into a show.
We'll bring.
An
I'm
audio
sure Door
only.
County Distillery would be happy to help.
We got to film it on one of those cameras too, where it's like, if you're seeing this, like,
Maybe make our own Blair Witch Project, and now we're talking.
All right, we'll reconnect off air on this one. We'll talk to you Friday beginning at 12:30 Central, ESPN Milwaukee, ESPN Madison on YouTube. Of course, available wherever you get your podcasts as well. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and the all-new, brand-new, good-looking ESPN Wisconsin app. We'll talk to you Friday. What a show. Peace.